When I made the video, I really disliked Jake Paul. Now, I don't dislike him. I understand him. I want to make something clear. I would still kick the living fuck out of Jake.
Andrew Tate just tore into Jake Paul like a bulldozer through a sandcastle, and honestly it was. Glorious, he called Jake out for being in no uncertain terms an absolute dick.
Because he's allowed himself to become the biggest clown on the internet, and now he's famous, right? Because he's an idiot, but he has a bunch of money, so he gets to...
Tate accused Jake of disrespecting boxing, a sport beloved by billions, and dragging its reputation through the mud, but Jake didn't stop at tarnishing boxing. He had to go and mess with a living legend too by pulling Mike Tyson into his circus act of a fight. Jake didn't just ruin the event, he disrespected Tyson's legacy.
I'm not some washed up UFC fighter. I'm not smaller than him. I would beat the living shit out of him. And if he wants to fight, I'll fight him any day of the week, and I'll fucking wreck him. And he knows
he wants to fight. I'll fight him any day of the week, and I'll __ wreck him. And he knows that. And for what, a few more clicks on his Instagram, Andrew isn't having any of it. He straight up blamed Jake for this entire mess, calling it an embarrassment to combat sports and a slap in the face to Tyson's storied career. And the worst part, Jake doesn't even have the decency to feel ashamed about it. It's shamelessness at its peak, and Andrew isn't staying quiet.
However, I do understand what he's doing. I understand that he is very, very smart, even with his marketing angle. I'm just a YouTuber. You're not just a YouTuber. You're a full-grown man with the best coaches in the world who's dedicated his life to learning how to box for years. You know how to box. You're not a complete amateur. You know how to box very well. 3, 4, 5 years of training combat sports. You can box. The guy's not a jackass.
Tate absolutely ripped Jake Paul to shreds on live TV, and honestly it was long overdue. Jake Paul, the self-proclaimed boxing savior with a fight record that's as questionable as his haircut, 6 wins, 1 loss, and a fan base that cheers louder for his TikToks than his punches, and yet this guy walks around like he's reinvented the sport. Enter Andrew Tate, 76, professional kickboxing, wins 23 knockouts and 0 patience for Jake's YouTube boxing circus. If this were a real sport instead of Jake's little social media playground, he wouldn't even make it past tryouts.
I made a video that called out Jake Paul.
$3 million. You put 3, I put 3. Winner takes all. You know my name, Andrew Tate. I will fight you any day, anytime. Let's fucking go. If I were to fight Jake Paul, I would take it completely seriously like a real fight, and I'd whoop his ass. I'd beat him. Jake. Everyone thinks he's just some YouTuber.
Jake's latest stunt, dragging a 58-year-old Mike Tyson out of retirement for a so-called fight. Seriously, who does? That Tyson is a legend, a man who's earned his spot in the Boxing Hall of Fame in his time in retirement, but Jake thought it'd be fun to slap his name on a pay-per-view of event and call it a fight. Andrew Tate didn't hold back, calling it for what it is, a joke and not a funny one. This isn't boxing, it's a content creator's ego trip, and Tate is here to put an end to it.
But he is not just a YouTuber. He is a young man training with Canelo and Ryan Garcia.
When I made the video, I really disliked Jake Paul. Now, I don't dislike him. I understand.
A guy who's fought elite athletes for over a decade called Jake out for padding his record with opponents who don't belong in a ring or are collecting retirement checks. Let's recap. Jake's greatest hits: shall we, a YouTuber, a retired basketball player, fighter whose boxing skills are about as sharp as a butter knife-o, and let's not forget the Mike Tyson fiasco. If Jake spent half as much time training as he does picking his opponents, we might actually respect him. But here we are.
Challenged him because he is a very fortunate young man, and he's fortunate because he's extremely rich, because he's allowed himself to become the biggest clown on the internet, and now he's famous, right? Because he's an idiot, but he has a bunch of money, so he gets to...
Tate called Jake a clown. It wasn't just trash talk. It was a fact. Jake Paul is the guy who shows up to a costume party in a suit and calls himself James Bond. He's playing dress up, and it's painfully obvious. Tate's challenge to Jake was simple: stop hiding behind gimmicks, step into the ring with a real fighter, and show us if you've got anything besides Instagram captions. Tate has spent years mastering his craft, fighting opponents who could actually punch back. Meanwhile, Jake's been busy promoting himself on social media and flexing on TikTok. He's the guy who skips practice but still wants to be team captain. It's embarrassing, really. If these two ever step into the ring, Tate won't just win. He'll dismantle Jake in front of his own fan base, and honestly, it'll be the reality check Jake's been avoiding.
But I'd still whoop his ass. but I would whoop his ass. But he wouldn't take a fight against me, because when he loses, I'm not nearly on his level of fame, right? So like he lost to who? Whereas if he loses to Conor McGregor, it's no big deal. Well, he lost to Conor McGregor, who cares, right? That's what it's about. But yeah,
It's still a win for him.
Yeah,
Let's
it's money for him.
talk about Tyson fighting one more time, because it deserves a special level of roasting. Jake fighting Mike Tyson at this stage of his life is like challenging a retired Olympian to a sprint and calling it a fair race. It's disrespectful, it's desperate, and it's exactly what we've come to expect from Jake Paul. Tate didn't mince words about it, and neither should we. If you're fighting someone 31 years older than you, it's not a competition, it's elder abuse.
I am ready. Come on. Fight. Hey. Stop fight. Hey. Fight. Hey. Good. Fight. Hey. Work. Hey. Work. Hey. Work. Hey. Work. Hey. Work. Work. Hey. Work.
Let's talk about Jake for a second. The guy who thought fighting a 58-year-old Mike Tyson was a great career move. Fighting is a strong word, though exploiting that's more accurate. Jake didn't see Tyson as a man who's earned his rest. He saw him as a shortcut to stay in the headlines, and the worst part, Jake genuinely thought this would make him look like a real boxer. Andrew Tate, on the other hand, sees Tyson as someone whose legacy should be preserved, not paraded around for cheap cash grabs. Tate didn't hold back, calling Jake out for what this fight really was, a desperate attempt to cling to relevance. Honestly, he's spotting even Tyson, who's way too classy to outright rose. Jake has hinted at the massive difference between the likes of Tate and Jake. Tyson respects figures like Tate because, like him, they've actually earned their influence. They've put in the work, taken the hits, and emerged as real fighters. Jake Paul, his antics probably make Tyson roll his eyes so hard they're practically doing laps. The difference is glaring. Tate operates with dignity while Jake operates like a walking billboard for his next viral moment. Two brothers.
Andrew, fighter, legitimate, badass motherfucker,
Yeah.
strong mentality. I'm sorry, Tristan Tate is the weak link.
I say let's
He
run
got a bad shoulder. He's shaped like a gingerbread man. I don't want no beef, but that's delusion.
PFO will set this up.
A MMA
10
double tag team
million,
match.
10 million for everybody.
You might have a fight.
Thing. Respect is everything in combat sports. It's what separates the legends from the frauds. Tate's respect for Tyson isn't just lip service, it's the kind of honor that comes from understanding the grind, the sacrifices, and the legacy of a real fighter. Jake Paul, on the other hand, wouldn't know respect if it smacked him in the face with a boxing glove. His entire career is built on cherry picking opponents who either don't box for a living or are past their pre-time. It's not just embarrassing, it's insulting to the sport and the athletes who take it seriously.
Two brothers, one cage. Jake Logan, you Tristan. Who comes out alive?
You know what? I'm trying so hard to not start internet beefs. I'm really trying not to.
You could say Jake and
Public's reaction to Jake's stunt
No, I can't lie.
was brutal, and rightly so. Fans and analysts alike saw right through it. Fighting Tyson at 58 wasn't a bold move. It was a cash grab, plain and simple. People were outraged not just at the disrespect to Tyson, but at the sheer audacity of Jake thinking this would somehow earn him respect in the boxing world. The combat sports community has had enough of the smoke and mirrors and is practically begging Andrew Tate to step in and give Jake the reality check he's been dodging. And let's not pretend Jake Paul doesn't know what he's doing. He's avoided real fighters for years, carefully curating his opponents to build a fake legacy. But Andrew Tate isn't some retired MMA guy looking for a payday. He's a former kickboxing world champion with 76 wins and the kind of experience that Jake can only dream of. If these two ever step into the ring, it won't be a fight, it'll be a dismantling. Tate will tear through Jake like a buzz saw through cardboard, and everyone knows it, including Jake. The media's been having a field day with the possibility of this fight, and the internet is buzzing with memes, debates, and predictions. Social media is lit up with people begging Tate to shut Jake down once and for all. For Tate, it's a chance to show the world what a real fighter looks like. For Jake, it's a chance to prove he's more than just a glorified YouTuber. But let's be honest, he's not.